I first wanted to recognize that we respectfully acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississauga Anishinaabe. We offer our gratitude to the First Peoples for their care and teachings about our earth. May we honor these teachings. Next, we're going to be making oobleck. So, some of you may know what oobleck is. It's very popular at summer camps, but if you would like an explanation, it's very simple. You just add 1 part water to 2 parts cornstarch. If you have 1 cup of water, you add 2 cups of cornstarch, and then you add food coloring. That's it. That's the whole thing. But I like oobleck because of its interesting properties. So, oobleck is a milky, white, shiny substance known as a non-Newtonian fluid. So what does this mean? It means that it flows like liquid when there is no force put on it, but as soon as you hit it, it forms a hard skin. If you squeeze some in the palm of your hands, you'll create a tough little glob, but the second you release it, the oobleck trickles down through your fingers into its slurry. It's gross, it's fun, and any kid gets caught up in its magical ability to switch back and forth between solids and liquids. On their own, boring old water and cornstarch don't seem like they have the ability to create such an interesting product, but get them together and they form a non-Newtonian fluid. To really understand these materials, we need some knowledge of their opposite, that is, a Newtonian fluid. So, British polymath and Enlightenment hero Isaac Newton studied lots of things: optics, gravity, waves, math, astronomy, history, so on and so forth. Then, in his spare time, he investigated how liquids flow, and thus got a branch of fluid dynamics named for him. So, Newton observed how common liquids like water or juice flow regardless of how much stress you put on them. So you can push and hit and punch water, but it's going to flow regardless. Pretty simple, yeah? Many liquids that we interact with on a regular basis work this way. So milk, water, oil, juice, etc. But then there are some that are not so common. These are non-Newtonian fluids, substances whose viscosity, so how easily they flow, change based on how much pressure you apply to them. For instance, think of a tub of thick yogurt. If you tip it upside down, it'll slowly ooze out, but if you took that container, you put the lid on, and you shook it for a really long time, it would flow out super easy. Other examples of this are toothpaste, conditioner, and ketchup. They usually sit kind of like a jello custardy solid at the bottom of their container, but when shaken, they flow quite easily. They need to provide a little bit of force to overcome the internal friction that keeps them where they are, such as giving them a squeeze or shaking them. When you mix cornstarch and water, the starchy grains become suspended in the liquids, creating a substance with weird, non-Newtonian abilities. When you apply pressure to oobleck, it works the opposite of the previous example. The liquid becomes more viscous, not less. At the places you apply first, the cornstarch particles get mashed together, trapping water molecules between them, and oobleck temporarily turns into a semi-solid material. The force can be anything, including sound vibrations from a speaker, or shaking a container, or punching it with your fist, as you can see. One of the most famous forces applied to Oobleck is the weight of a person. So there have been many cases where people will create a giant pool of Oobleck, and I highly suggest you make one if you have the ability at some point in your life. And you're able to run straight across it because the force of your foot slamming down creates that tension and pressure, and it becomes a solid. But if you stood in place for more than a second, your foot would start to sink into the Oobleck because that pressure is no longer immediate and it just collapses. And that, kids, is the science of Oobleck.